My experience in León was very rewarding, and I was very surprised at how open the hearts were of people who live in conditions that none of us would even choose to live in.
It started out, I felt just overwhelmed by the people and by the environment. My judgments of Mexico were almost immediately changed, of Mexican people, and so much of it was because of their heart, their love for us. They just gave so generously, abundantly, and their time and their effort, and that was just, it blew me away.
For my whole life, I've had kind of a stereotype built up. Only living in the US, you don't really ever think about third world countries a whole lot more than what you see on TV. I kind of had the worst imaginable, thought in my head about, how bad it was going to be. But then going there and just meeting the people there, when you go and talk to them, they're open to prayer. Everybody wants to be your friend.
The food was good, the people were amazing, everyone was so loving, and when you met someone new, you felt like you've known them your entire life because they're just so welcoming.
I was able to get a grant from my company at Bayer Animal Health that I work. I was granted $5,000 to help with the orphanage to replace all the mattresses there for 33 orphans, and they added actually more orphans since I have received the funding, and also they received new bedding, and they're going to buy 2 washers and 2 dryers. And while we were there, we also realized that they had a water issue, a water drainage issue. So several of our talented team members discussed how to come up with a solution to get a gas tank and do some plumbing, and that it's going to pay for all of that. And it's just a great blessing.
So my experience in León was very special this year. It's really hard to describe, it's really hard to put into words. I felt blessed. I felt blessed to be able to be there. I felt blessed to be able to be with the people of that church and to be in such a situation, in a circumstance where I could help and serve and be with those people and serve God along with these people that really showed love more than you thought was possible.
So I prayed that God would use me, and He so did. The very first, it was the second night of the outreach, actually. We were in a park, and it was an amazing night, and we had started with bubbles with the kids and just playing and having a great time. But then it came time for people to get prayed for, and I am not a prayer. I'm not very good at it. But there was a woman and a little girl. The woman's name was Gabby and her little girl's name was Amber, and they needed prayer. And so Pastor Jeff asked us to go pray for them, and I went over to her, and it was instantaneous, just tears and prayer, and before the night was over, it was jumping and dancing and just an amazing time. She told me that she had earlier in the night seen God just shining through me, and was so glad that I had come over to meet her. And I knew then that God had answered the prayer that I had to use me. And we don't have children of our own, but the children there just treated me like a rock star. I don't know why, but it was just absolutely amazing.
One of the nights, I think it was actually the very first night we did the outreach, and it was like a new setting, and there was this little girl, and basically we were passing out flyers to go to the event, and I mean, it was just awesome to see this little girl because she was so excited to pass out the flyers. I mean, she was running up to people and just giving them to them and excited. And I had no clue what she was saying, but I knew she was excited about it because she was like, "Hey, come to our event, da 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 da," and I have no clue what she said, but I could tell that she was excited. And I just thought, wow. I mean, she was probably like 5 or 6 years old, and I thought, wow, that's really, really bold. And I did not have that when I was 5 or 6.
When I was in Mexico, I was really stretched and in ways that was kind of uncomfortable for me. Public speaking can be kind of a nerve-wracking and scary thing for me, and when Pastor Jeff asked me to speak at the first outreach, it was kind of scary, and then I did it, and then the next night I did it again, and I got more comfortable, and the next night I did it again, and as I began to step out, I began to see God move in me more.
We went into an area, we were walking around into neighborhoods and giving out flyers to invite everyone to the outreaches. And we did learn that there was a lot of drug usage in the area, sometimes even entire families, even little children were addicted to drugs, which is very sad to even hear. On one point, Tina and I were giving out a flyer to a very young woman, and it looked like her mother was with her, and a child was in a stroller who was maybe 2. And the child's eyes were just flitting back and forth really fast. And it was obvious that this child was addicted to something. You just knew that this child lived this way every day of their life, and probably so did the mother and the entire family. But that mother was there that night at the outreach.
I remember the second day we went into the orphanage. We just walked in, and you could just see their faces light up with joy, just really overwhelming my heart with joy, and I really didn't think it was going to be like that. It was just honestly amazing, and I'll never forget what their face expressions were.
The children in general from the orphanage, the second I walked into an orphanage, a little adorable girl named Mia ran up and grabbed a hold of me, and I held her for 3 hours. She wouldn't let me put her down, and I just ate that up right from the beginning. And then when we were going through the neighborhood and passing out the flyers, the kids would just laugh and smile as I came by. I don't know if it's because they thought I talked funny or I had curly red hair or what the case was, but it was absolutely just every second of it was beyond words.
I think my experience in Mexico was one of authenticity. The people there were so authentic. There were no filters, there was no ulterior motives in their expression to you of love and warmth and care. I think that, here I go, probably the most incredible thing was actually seeing, I think, the light of God shine through my wife. And it was very obvious, very obvious. And she doesn't give herself enough credit, but certainly I think that's what drew the children to her more than anything. And really seeing the joy in her was what made the whole trip for me. So, but because I caused her a lot of pain in our relationship. And to see that joy in her is just priceless to me.
We had so many amazing outreaches. We had a hospital outreach, we went to a boys' home, a drug rehab home, to an orphanage, to all these neighborhoods that we were able to minister in. The people are just incredible. And every time you go into these neighborhoods, you realize that God sees these people and that God knows these people and He loves these people.
I felt like at different points in this trip, each one of us that were on the trip had a moment to shine. Like there was a moment in which our gifting and who we were as a person was able to intersect with someone there or a group of people there in the most unique and powerful way. For me, that experience came a couple times, being able to speak to a men's group at a recovery facility and just share with them some basic recovery principles and talk to them about their faith and how their faith and their sobriety and recovery all interacts. I mean, that's just that's what I do for a living. And so it was cool to see God use me in that way specifically.
I remember one night, it was when we went to the hospital, and we met this guy who, he lived in America for like 8 years or something, and he ended up killing someone. And he went to jail for like 30 years and then got deported. And he just began to like break down as he was talking about actually like killing someone. And I could just see the shame and the guilt that he experienced, and that he had to hold on to, knowing the fact that he ended someone else's life. And as I was praying over, I'm just beginning to speak that that Jesus died on the cross so he wouldn't have to experience that shame anymore. That he killed someone and that he wouldn't have to live with that. That Jesus took that on the cross and he could live free. That his life could be redeemed. And it was a revelation of God's love like I'd never experienced before.
And whenever we did the outreaches, God gave me, a bunch of opportunities to step outside of my comfort zone and do a lot of different things which normally I wouldn't be as comfortable to do. So I had the chance to give my testimony and talk about like the skit and lead people to faith in Christ. And most of the time I, like to have preparation for those things and, thoroughly think things through so I don't have like any anxious thoughts about it. But, I just felt like, I was like, hey, this is all in your hands. I'm just gonna go up there and whatever comes out of my mouth comes out of my mouth. And it was just at that place of, I can't do anything in my own power. And so it's all in your hands, and having that level of expectation that the Lord is gonna give me something, that trust was something that just really grew in me.
My experience in León was amazing and unforgettable. And one experience that I had was the prayer night and the worship night. I didn't know who to pray for at first, so I picked the first person that was in front of me, and I prayed for her, and she started crying. I heard from Pastor and from Anissa that she felt God for the very first time, and she came to a life in faith.
One night, the last night that we were all together in a big group, we were praying over everyone, and I got to pray over my friend Danny. I miss her a lot, and her little sister was with her, and I was just praying over them, and I felt like God was telling me to just hold them and tell them that he loves them, and that, tell them all these things about how much he adores them and how they're his princesses and all this stuff. And it was really cool for me because I got to experience God using me to show them that he really does love them and he really does care for them.
So down there, we had the chance to connect with a lot of the guys and the girls at the church. And there's just this level of intimacy that we all share. It's just like this closeness, this bond that all brings us together. And it's just like, we've only, known each other for 2 weeks, and some of us only a week. And it's like, still we're so close, and it's just like knowing that we can share like the deepest parts of our struggles. We can, share these things, and we can grow together. And there's just something so just unique about the relationships that we have, that even people that I've known, almost my whole life, I'm still not near as close as the people that I've only known for 2 weeks.
Meeting the men down there, Raul and Eduardo and Isaac and them, it's like I have a new brotherhood. And as I left and had to say goodbye, which was tough, they were calling me their brother. And, just watching the kids interact. If you wanted to see a comedy show, just hang out with them for a while. That's why I sat down at the other end of the table during breakfast, is because they were Snapchatting and doing stuff that just, it was hilarious watching them.
There's a couple guys, Miguel and Josue, and these guys are my brothers. These are guys that I would trust, to help me out with anything. These are guys that I could rely on. These are guys that, throughout the year when I'm feeling alone and when I'm feeling, down, I think about our relationships. I think about those times where they've encouraged me, and they've made me feel God's joy and God's love. God has really shown me that he wants that same love that they show and the same love that is in their hearts when they serve and when they're praying and when they're in community and fellowship. He's shown me that he wants that same love back in LifePointe, back in Surge, back in America. That just because they live in a more a bigger place of poverty and, they struggle with maybe different issues than we do. God has really shown me that that same love can exist here.
Well, last year when the church was down there on the missions trip, I saw the photos of the church and everybody down there having fun, and instantly I was like jealous. I wanted to be down there. And then when y'all went to the little church in León, and here's 3 walls with a tarp strung between them, it was like an instant. When you guys got back, I said, we're gonna put a roof on that church. And God blessed me financially to where I could gather the money up. I challenged my boss to match what I was donating, and we sent the money down there to León, and they built not only the roof on the church, but they built a 2nd story for a children's church. The morning that I got to meet Pastor Lamone, I was really worried that I wasn't going to get to, because they were having a pastor's meeting there, and we had to go upstairs for breakfast, and then to go downstairs and to walk up to this man that, yeah, wow. When he reached out and shook my hand and just sobbed in my chest and told me that I was a blessing, it was it was like him and I had known each other forever, but yet we had just met, and to feel that appreciation, it was really, it's indescribable. And to go down and see it, to do it is one thing, to send the money down, but then to actually physically see it, it was overwhelming. I still can't describe the emotions that I felt. It was just unbelievable to go down there and see it. And it's not, up here it wouldn't be anything but a shed, maybe not even a good shed, but to them and the people down there, and the appreciation that night at the outreach, that, just like Doreen said, I felt like a rock star. They just kept coming up and saying, can I get my picture with you? And the hugs and the love that you felt because of that little church. And I mean, to me, it's one of the most beautiful churches there are.
My name is Julie Henrichsen.
My name is Noah Bird.
My name is Joe Kostelak.
My name is Anissa Presley.
My name is Dawson Presley.
My name is Rick Presley.
My name is Shane Metters.
My name is John Jackson.
My name is Mitchell Norris.
My name is Kyle Kofelt.
My name is Evan Norris.
My name is Jeff Birkenmeyer.
My name is Tina Norris.
My name is Patrick Norris.
My name is Emac.
My name is Doreen Kostelak.
And I had an unforgettable encounter with God.
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 And I had multiple incredible encounters with God.
My name is John Jackson, and I ate 21 tacos. Ugh.
I just want to say thank you to all the people who funded me and prayed for me.
I just thank you so much. It was so much fun.
Thank you to all of those that gave to us for this trip.
I can honestly say it was really unexpected. Every time someone funded me, I had not, half the time I hadn't even really asked them for it. So that was just like a surprise blessing. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for praying for me. And I sincerely mean that, because that goes a lot farther than you know.
The Lord had a time and a place for me to be there, and this was the right time. So just that you guys can make this happen is amazing.
And it means the world to me to know that, I didn't go into this alone, that I know you guys were praying for me, even though some of you guys didn't have the chance to actually go there and visit yourself, but to know that you were there in spirit and that you praying for me actually changed things that, I couldn't actually do on my own. And so you are part of the encounter that we made and the impact.
Because of you, I've been able to go on this trip and experience God's love. And I want to let you know that you were with me on this trip, that everything that was done, that you were a part of that, and that every reward that was given to us is also going to be given to you.
It definitely would not have been possible without you guys, and just the prayers and the preparation that occurred in me, and the path that was laid before me and the doors that were open, the hearts that were open because of your prayers. I'm just so thankful for it.